Welcome back to Inside the Box, an occupation series. My name is Ricardo, and in today's episode number 3, we are talking to Heidi, who is a tattoo artist. She works in northwest London in Kentish Town. So let's crack on and find out some wonderful information about the tattoo world. Heidi, how you doing? Welcome to episode number 3 of Inside the Box, an occupation series. How you feeling?
Good, fine.
Good?
Yeah.
Thank you for having me here today. Can you give me a little bit of a background on what you've done to sort of get into the profession and sort of how long you've been doing it for?
So I've always done art, and I've always been interested in art and drawn since I was really little. And then I ended up doing fine art in college and sort of knew that I wanted to go into something art based.
Cool.
Because I just enjoyed it so much. And I didn't think that tattooing was like a realistic job for me, because it was one of those things that you think, oh, that's a really cool job.
Yeah.
And you think, oh, that's like, I'm never actually going to be able to do that. And then when I tried to get an apprenticeship, I ended up walking into a place and asking them with my portfolio and I was just really lucky, the right place at the right time. They liked my work and they just literally said, yeah, start on Saturday.
Okay. So how many years do you think you would have been doing drawings and all of the work in the background to sort of develop your portfolio for?
Actual portfolio wise, I did my portfolio throughout college.
Right,
but
okay.
Just drawing in general since I was 2 years old.
Nice. And obviously with technology moving so fast these days, I presume there's now different ways that you sort of do your drawings and sketches and stuff. I did see you with an iPad earlier on, so I presume that a lot of your work is done on the computer as well now, compared to maybe 10, 15 years ago when people were just working with paper.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got an iPad a year ago, changed my life. I used to have just layer upon layer of tracing paper.
Yeah.
I just used to have stockpiles of paper everywhere and pencils and everything like that. And it's actually, when you are drawing every single day, it's actually quite an expense to keep buying the fine liners and the paper and all that kind of stuff. So one-off payment for an iPad, and I haven't touched paper for a year.
Really?
Yeah. Just
out of curiosity then, how do you actually draw on the iPad? Do you get one of those digital pens that you can use as well?
So you get an Apple Pencil.
Oh, nice.
And then there's programs that you can use on there and that replicate pencil and pen and anything you could possibly want to do art-wise, it will replicate it basically on the iPad.
What programs do you use?
Procreate and Sketchbook.
Right, okay, Heidi, cool, thanks for that. So I want to know a little bit about the process of obviously becoming a tattoo artist, some of the things that you've done to sort of get people to notice you, and then obviously talk about sort of the ins and outs of the job and what they would be sort of expected to do.
So I just had a portfolio from college which contained mostly paintings.
Okay.
And when I went into the shop that gave me the apprenticeship in the end, they did turn around to me and they were like, this is good stuff, but it's not really what we want to see, because we want to see what your ability is going to be like to actually draw tattoos.
Right.
So that's something that I didn't include, but you would definitely want to include, I suppose,
okay.
to try and put across that you can kind of do that format.
Sure.
Instead of just other forms of art at the same time.
So making your portfolio a bit more varied to sort of show them in the initial interview stage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I presume you was working at home at the time alongside being at college. So what other things did you do that sort of generated your portfolio?
Funnily enough, when you were getting tattooed.
Oh yeah, obviously.
I came to Jane Doe.
I'm a tattoo fan. Oh yeah, of course you did.
And, I remember sitting and looking through the books at Jane Doe and being like, oh, this is so cool. I really need to start drawing all this stuff. And go into an actual tattoo shop with friends when they were getting tattooed and sort of seeing the kind of designs that they were drawing was a huge inspiration for me, because at the time I'd only had one tattoo. I hadn't really been around tattoo shops. So I didn't really have a proper idea of the variations of kind of designs that you could actually do.
Yeah.
So a lot of people do say that sort of going and getting tattooed as much as you can, getting to know people in the business, or even just seeing sort of art and stuff that they create and sort of being inspired by it.
Nice. Okay. So when you come into the tattoo shop that I had my work done, did you sort of monitor like how they went about their work? Like,
you know what? I never actually saw any of that.
I presume then for people that are watching, it might be quite helpful for them to potentially ask an artist that has got a lot more experience and is already running a shop or working in a shop to show them the sorts of ins and outs of what they need to do to be able to sort of work on a client.
I watched a lot of videos I remember sitting at home and just like Googling and watching videos about tattoos and watching how to set up machines and do all this kind of stuff even before I started my apprenticeship, just out of curiosity, I think.
I mean, I can imagine that social media is quite well involved now and people are sort of using that to their advantage and showcasing the work that they do through that as well. Let's talk a little bit about the qualifications and the skills. I know that we did touch on it earlier on and that you said that there wasn't any specific qualification that you needed, but what sort of things did you do to sort of develop your skills so that you could go ahead and do this work as a profession?
So, not that I absolutely recommend this for anyone, but I did bought a tattoo kit off of eBay.
Okay.
And it wasn't like me tattooing people or anything like that, but I would tattoo like fruit and all sorts of things just to pretty much get a feel for it and see, because I was so impatient and I was so desperate to do this job basically. So I remember doing that loads.
What sort of fruits did you sort of tattoo on to start off with?
Just like literally like bananas, like
thick skin
like
fruit,
watermelon, like literally, anything that really.
That's very interesting. I'm glad you said something like that as well, because when we done the barber interview, which was episode 1, he mentioned a similar thing, and obviously in the barbering profession, they work on fake models and things to sort of develop their skills before they potentially do a paid job on somebody's head, because you can imagine what it would be like if that went wrong. But I think from the tattoo side of things, it's even worse because people's hair grows back, but with a tattoo, if you get that wrong, people are going to be very angry because you can't remove that as easily.
That's not the kind of thing you want to go doing, like just tattooing people when you have no knowledge of like hygiene, especially is like the main thing. You can do a bad tattoo and people get over that, but if you do a bad tattoo and it ultimately ends up making someone ill, then it's not worth taking that risk kind of thing. And you can get sort of like an idea of like machine control and like pulling lines and all that kind of stuff with the machine, like just by doing the fruit basically. A lot of people do pigskin, but I don't really. I wouldn't really want to do that.
Okay, so in the tattoo world, I presume that the work is quite methodical and there are certain processes that you go through from start to finish. If a new client was to come through the front door today and ask you that they wanted a piece done, what would you do in the background to get to a stage where you'd be ready to work on them?
When someone like even initially first emails me or comes into the shop or anything, especially people who are having their first tattoo, it can make them a bit nervous, but a lot of it is based on them trusting me. So they'll give me reference images. Say if they want something to do with flowers, they'll give me they'll give me the names of the type of flowers they want, rough description, and then what I'll do is if they're particularly nervous, they'll always be like, oh, could you send it over maybe a couple of days before?
Right.
Which I'm fine with doing, I can do that. But generally I'll send it over the day before, so they'll be able to see it, make any changes to the actual design, and then that'll be ready for the appointment the next day.
So I suppose it gives the client obviously the opportunity to come back to you and say, oh, I don't want this, or can you potentially add this?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't ever want anyone to feel pressured and like they have to get something that they don't want kind of thing. Even when I show them the design the next day when they're ready to go, I'll always be like, do you want to change this? Do you want to change that? And I think that it's really important to do that with clients, because it just starts off your whole like customer relationship
definitely
on a good point.
Definitely, and it obviously makes the client feel a little bit more at ease because you've given them the opportunity to tell you that they don't want something, as opposed to just saying, right, let's go ahead with that piece, knowing full well that they're going to have it on their skin for the rest of their life.
I use a lot of reference images, so what I'll do is say again, if I was doing the flowers, I would Google all the names of the flowers, find pictures, and then have that on the page that I'm drawing, have that I put them all dotted around, all these different images as like a little sort of like mood board of what I'm doing.
That's cool.
Just so I've got all the reference of the different ones, and I can make sure I'm being like correct, like doing the correct little bits on them, all that kind of stuff. So it depends on how intricate the piece is as to whether I need to do a lot of research or maybe just like a tiny bit of research.
Nice, okay. And then obviously once you've sort of sent over the final piece that you are hoping the client likes, they obviously make the decision, and if they decide to go ahead with it, they come into the store on a specific date and have the work done. What other sort of bits and pieces do you have to do once the client comes into the store? I see you doing a few bits and pieces today.
Yeah.
So obviously you've got the image on saved as a PDF or on a piece of paper. Could you just run through the process of what you do once the client comes in?
So once the client's in and we've filled out a consent form, which is pretty much what I do straight away, get them to fill out the consent form, make sure that they're okay to go through with the process, that there's nothing wrong that could possibly like ruin it or interrupt it or anything like that. And then I'll go and print off some different sizes. So if it's a smaller piece, I'll just put multiple different sizes on a page, cut them all out, and then give them to the customer, and they will just measure it up on the space that they wanted to do it, just to try and figure out what looks best, what fits best, all that kind of stuff. Once they've chosen the size, I'll just make a stencil from that bit of paper, from that sort of outline, and then we're pretty much ready to go.
All right, nice. Okay, so would you be able to tell us a little bit about your working hours and what somebody new to the profession could expect to do during the week, or maybe even at the weekend, to sort of get to a stage where they're getting regular clients? How many sort of hours a week are you potentially doing? And more importantly, do you feel comfortable doing those amount of hours, and do they fit with your lifestyle?
So when I first started, when I was doing my apprenticeship, I generally would work any time that they were in. So that would be like a Tuesday to Saturday. Every day. That was 10 till 6 in that shop, just because those were the designated hours of that shop. Then when I qualified, it was more about, right, I've got to put the work in right now to build my client base. So I was doing 6 days a week, but I was more dictated by customers. So if a customer wanted an appointment in the evening, I'd do that for the evening. It was important for me to do that, to just try and get in as much sort of work and as much experience as possible, just to build a client base. Now that I've got quite a nice, like, consistent flow of work and things like that, I work 4 days a week, which are split in different shops, because I've got different customer bases in different places. So that means I have 3 days off. One of those days I use to do my drawing, get anything done that I need to for work. And then I have my 2 days off just to sort of relax and chill out, and that suits me perfectly. Really.
Cool. Okay, right, so we got to the point in the video where I'm going to showcase some of the work that you've done. Obviously you've just finished working on somebody, so let's show some of the guys who are watching some of the stuff that you've done today.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about some of the benefits of being a tattoo artist?
So the main thing would be that you can pretty much work your job around your life, which is amazing, really. You're doing what you love, you get really good customers that you can talk to, you have really good days where you get on really well with people. I couldn't relate at all to someone who like goes into an office every day, structured routine and everything like that, because a lot of the time it feels like I can come to work and just hang out with my mates, kind of thing.
And that doesn't sound lazy at all, I just know what you mean, because obviously this environment allows you to do that. Setting up different appointments throughout the week, you can have some time to just have a chat like we've done today, when obviously there are no clients here. Okay, cool. So, the most sensitive question, obviously, people are going to want to know what they can potentially earn being a tattoo artist. I'm going to show you a piece of paper with 4 categories now. If you could just explain what people could expect to earn when they first start out and what they potentially could earn going forward as a tattoo artist.
When you first start out during your apprenticeship, apprenticeships are generally unpaid. So for the first couple of years, you're going to be looking at earning pretty much nothing. I'd say for my first 2 years, I was earning below A.
Did you find that quite difficult to start off with?
That was, yeah, it was really difficult at the time, but I knew that it was sort of something that I just had to work at. And at the time I lived with my parents, and so I didn't really have any like proper outgoings.
Sure.
Now that I'm getting like a more steady workflow and I've got like client base and all that kind of stuff, I'm in B category.
Okay.
I would say A to C is pretty much the range of money that you can expect to earn, but it completely depends on how hard you're willing to work. If I was working 7 days a week, I could maximise my money a lot more.
Of course, but you need to obviously balance your work with your lifestyle, so it depends what you're willing to commit.
It's all about how much time you put in, really.
Nice stuff. Okay, right, so the final question is what you like most about being a tattoo artist, and if there is any improvements that you think could be made to your job.
I pretty much like everything about being a tattoo artist. I like the freedom. I'm doing art for a living.
Sure.
I couldn't really ask for more. I like the fact that I get to talk with loads of interesting people. I get to come to work and work with interesting people. And I like that I can go on holiday whenever I want to.
Doesn't everyone?
Improvement wise, I think with any sort of customer based role, especially when you're dealing with them directly and you're their point of contact, it can be hard. You're obviously always going to run into difficult people,
Sure.
people who sort of expect a bit too much from you.
Yeah.
I can get people message me at all hours. I've had people call me at like 2-3 o'clock in the morning before.
Really?
People go out, get drunk, decide they want a tattoo.
Wow.
And will immediately think, oh, I'll message them, I'll
Yeah.
find out, kind of thing. And then some people can even get a bit annoyed if I don't reply instantly, which is just too much to expect from just a person, basically. But that's pretty much the only problem.
Cool. Okay, so for everybody watching, don't message Heidi past 3 a.m, especially if you've had some alcohol. Thank you very much for speaking with us today. I hope you've enjoyed being part of episode 3. Let me give you a social media shout out now so that everybody can have a look at some of your work, and if they do potentially want some work done, they can get in contact with you before 3 a.m.
Yes.
If you can just give us your Instagram profile, I will plug it in the video now.
My Instagram name is Heidi K Tattoo.
Thank you very much again, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you.